The phone slipped from Emma's trembling fingers, crashing to the floor as the police officer's words echoed in her mind. "There's been an accident. Your husband didn't survive." Across town, Mark tucked his daughter into bed, unaware that in just hours, he would become the lifeline for a woman he barely knew. If this story touches your heart, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more powerful stories of human connection and resilience. Your support helps us continue sharing these emotional journeys that remind us we're never truly alone. Emma Collins had always believed her life was perfectly mapped out. At 32, she had a loving husband, Ryan, a charming colonial home in the suburbs, and plans to start a family in the spring. They had been college sweethearts, married for 7 years, and still looked at each other with the same adoration as the day they met. Ryan worked as an architect at a prestigious firm downtown, while Emma ran a small but successful bakery that specialized in artisanal bread and pastries. Their life together was comfortable, predictable, and filled with quiet joy. That Tuesday in November began like any other. Ryan kissed Emma goodbye, promised to pick up ingredients for the pasta dish they planned to make together that evening, and headed to work. Emma spent the day at her bakery, experimenting with a new sourdough recipe and chatting with regular customers. The afternoon brought heavy rain, turning the autumn leaves into a slippery carpet on the roads. Emma called Ryan around 5, reminding him to drive carefully. He laughed, told her he loved her, and said he'd be home by 6:30. By 7, Emma had set the table, uncorked a bottle of wine, and was checking her phone every few minutes. By 8, she had called Ryan's cell phone 12 times, each call going straight to voicemail. By 9, she was pacing the kitchen, a knot of dread tightening in her stomach. When the doorbell rang at 9:30, she rushed to answer it, expecting to find Ryan with a dead phone battery and a reasonable explanation. Instead, she found 2 police officers standing solemnly on her porch. "Mrs. Collins," the female officer asked gently. "May we come in?" The words that followed destroyed Emma's world. Ryan's car had hydroplaned on the wet road, crashing into a concrete barrier. He had died instantly. The grocery bag with pasta ingredients was found in the passenger seat. The next few days passed in a blur of funeral arrangements, condolence calls, and paperwork. Emma moved through it all like a ghost, unable to process the reality that Ryan was gone forever. Their home, once warm and inviting, now felt like a museum of memories too painful to revisit. Friends and family came and went, bringing casseroles and sympathy, but none of it penetrated the fog of grief that enveloped her. A week after the funeral, Emma found herself alone for the first time. Her parents had returned to Florida, Ryan's family to Chicago, and her friends had their own lives to return to. The silence in the house was deafening. That evening, unable to bear the emptiness any longer, Emma grabbed her coat and walked to a small neighborhood park, seeking some escape from the suffocating grief. The park was deserted in the chilly evening air, save for a man pushing a little girl on the swings. The child's laughter carried across the empty playground, the sound so full of life that it made Emma's heart ache. She sat on a bench, watching them from a distance, remembering how she and Ryan had talked about bringing their own children here someday. The little girl, who looked about 5 years old, suddenly jumped off the swing and ran toward Emma's bench, chasing after a bright red ball that had rolled in her direction. Emma picked it up just as the child reached her. "Thank you," the little girl said, her cheeks flushed from the cold and excitement. "I'm Sophie." "I'm Emma," she replied, managing a small smile. "That's a very nice ball you have." "My daddy got it for me because I was brave at the dentist," Sophie announced proudly. The man approached, slightly out of breath. "Sophie, don't bother the lady." "She's not bothering me," Emma assured him. "We were just introducing ourselves." "I'm Mark," he said, extending his hand. "Sorry if we disturbed your evening." Emma shook his hand. "Emma Collins. And really, it's fine. It's nice to hear laughter." Something in her tone must have revealed her sadness, because Mark's expression softened. "Would you like to join us?" Sophie has decided that the swings aren't exciting enough, and we're heading to the slide next. Under normal circumstances, Emma would have politely declined. But the thought of returning to her empty house was unbearable. Sure, she heard herself say. I'd like that. For the next hour, Emma found herself caught up in Sophie's boundless energy and Mark's easy conversation. He didn't ask personal questions or make small talk about the weather. Instead, he simply included Emma in their games, as if her presence was the most natural thing in the world. For brief moments, Emma forgot about her grief, caught up in Sophie's delight at going down the slide super fast or finding a particularly interesting rock. As the evening grew colder, Mark checked his watch. We should probably head home, sophomore. It's almost bedtime. Sophie's protests were interrupted by a loud rumble from Emma's stomach, reminding her that she hadn't eaten all day. Mark laughed. Sounds like someone's hungry. We're just about to have dinner, nothing fancy, just spaghetti and meatballs. You're welcome to join us if you'd like. Emma hesitated. These were strangers, after all. But there was something trustworthy about Mark's kind eyes and Sophie's innocent chatter. And the alternative was another night alone with her thoughts. That's very kind of you, she said. But I wouldn't want to impose. It's no imposition, Mark assured her. Sophie makes enough meatballs to feed an army, don't you, kiddo? Sophie nodded enthusiastically. I'm the best meatball maker in the whole wide world. Emma found herself smiling genuinely for the first time in days. Well, in that case, how could I refuse? Mark and Sophie lived in a modest two-bedroom apartment just a few blocks from the park. The space was cluttered but cozy, with children's artwork covering the refrigerator and a collection of well-worn toys neatly organized in colorful bins. It was clearly a home filled with love, despite its simplicity. As Mark prepared the pasta, Emma helped Sophie set the table, listening to the little girl's detailed explanation of why the blue plate was her favorite and how the fork with the bent tine was special because it could catch more spaghetti. The domestic normalcy of the scene was both comforting and painful, a glimpse of the family life Emma had planned with Ryan. Over dinner, Sophie dominated the conversation with stories about kindergarten and her best friend Lily, who had a pet turtle named Speedy. Mark occasionally interjected with gentle corrections or clarifying details, his patience with his daughter's rambling narrative clearly born of deep love. It wasn't until Sophie had been tucked into bed that Mark and Emma had a chance to talk properly. Sitting at the kitchen table with mugs of tea, an awkward silence fell between them. Thank you for dinner, Emma said finally. And for the company. I should probably get going soon. Mark nodded, then hesitated. I hope this isn't too forward, but, are you okay? You seem like you're carrying something heavy. The simple question, asked with genuine concern rather than mere politeness, broke something open inside Emma. Before she could stop herself, the words tumbled out. My husband died 2 weeks ago. Car accident. Her voice cracked. Tonight's the first night I've been completely alone, and I couldn't stand being in our house anymore. Mark's expression shifted from surprise to deep compassion. I'm so sorry, Emma. There are no words. No, she agreed quietly. There aren't. I know something about grief, Mark said after a moment. Sophie's mother left when she was just a baby. Different kind of loss, I know, but the emptiness, that feels familiar. Emma looked up, meeting his eyes. How did you do it? Keep going, I mean. Mark considered the question carefully. 1 day at a time. Sometimes 1 hour at a time. Having Sophie helped, I had to get up every morning, no matter how I felt. But I won't lie to you, it was the hardest thing I've ever done. I don't know if I can do it, Emma admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. Everything reminds me of him. Our plans, our future, it's all gone. Not gone, Mark said gently. Changed. Terribly, unfairly changed. But you're still here, Emma. And from what little I know of you, I think you're stronger than you realize right now. They talked for hours, the conversation flowing naturally from grief to healing, from painful memories to hopeful possibilities. Mark shared stories of his early days as a single father, the mistakes he'd made and the lessons he'd learned. Emma spoke about Ryan, about their life together, and about the bakery that had once been her passion but now felt like just another reminder of her loss. By the time Emma glanced at the clock, it was past midnight. "I should go," she said reluctantly. "You probably have to work tomorrow." "I do," Mark confirmed. "I teach high school English. But I'm glad we talked." At the door, Emma turned to him. "Thank you. For everything. I don't know why you invited a stranger to dinner, but I'm grateful you did." Mark smiled. "Sophie has good instincts about people. And sometimes, the universe puts the right people in our path when we need them most." "Do you believe that?" Emma asked. "I do," he said simply. "It's how I've made it this far." As Emma walked home, the night air crisp against her tear-stained cheeks, she felt something shift inside her. The grief was still there, a massive weight on her heart, but for the first time since the police officers had appeared at her door, she felt a tiny spark of something else. Not hope, exactly, but perhaps the possibility of hope. The next morning, Emma woke with a clear purpose. She showered, dressed, and drove to her bakery for the first time since Ryan's death. Her assistant manager, Olivia, had been running things in her absence, and the young woman's face lit up with surprise when Emma walked through the door. "Emma. We weren't expecting you back so soon. Are you sure you're ready?" Emma wasn't sure at all, but she nodded anyway. "I need to be here. I need normal." The familiar routine of measuring flour, kneading dough, and chatting with customers provided a welcome distraction. By closing time, Emma was exhausted but felt more grounded than she had in weeks. As she locked up, she noticed a familiar figure approaching, Mark, without Sophie this time. "I hope it's okay that I stopped by," he said, looking slightly uncertain. "I wanted to check on you, and Olivia mentioned you'd come in today." Emma was surprised by how pleased she felt to see him. "It's more than okay. I was just about to grab some dinner. Would you like to join me?" "My treat, to thank you for last night." Over pizza at a casual restaurant nearby, Emma found herself laughing at Mark's stories about his students' creative excuses for missing homework. The sound of her own laughter startled her. It felt foreign, almost wrong, as if she were betraying Ryan's memory by experiencing even a moment of joy. Mark seemed to sense her sudden discomfort. "It's okay to laugh, you know," he said quietly. "It doesn't mean you're forgetting him or moving on too quickly. It just means you're alive." "How did you know what I was thinking?" Emma asked, surprised. "Because I've been there," Mark replied. "After Sophie's mom left, I felt guilty every time I enjoyed something. Like I was supposed to be miserable forever to prove how much it hurt." "Exactly," Emma whispered. "It feels disloyal somehow." "Ryan loved you," Mark said gently. "Would he want you to never laugh again?" The question hung between them, and Emma knew the answer immediately. Ryan had been full of life, always the first to find humor in difficult situations. He would hate to think of her drowning in grief. "No," she admitted. He wouldn't. That conversation marked the beginning of a friendship that would become Emma's lifeline in the months that followed. Mark never pushed or pressured her, but he was consistently present, texting to check in, stopping by the bakery for coffee, inviting her to join him and Sophie for simple activities like movie nights or trips to the museum. Sophie, with her uncomplicated affection and endless curiosity, became a bright spot in Emma's darkest days. The little girl didn't tiptoe around Emma's grief or offer platitudes. Instead, she simply accepted Emma as part of their lives, drawing her pictures, asking her questions about baking, and occasionally crawling into her lap when Emma's eyes grew sad. As winter melted into spring, Emma found herself spending more and more time with Mark and Sophie. She taught Sophie how to make simple cookies, helped her with art projects, and even attended her school play, where Sophie played a very enthusiastic tree. Mark became the friend Emma could call at any hour, whether she needed help fixing a leaky faucet or just someone to listen as she cried over finding one of Ryan's old sweaters. Their relationship remained firmly platonic, built on mutual respect and understanding rather than romantic attraction. Mark never tried to replace Ryan in Emma's life, and Emma never tried to replace Sophie's mother. Instead, they created something new, a friendship that acknowledged their separate losses while building something positive from the ashes. 6 months after Ryan's death, Emma made a difficult decision. She put their house on the market, unable to continue living surrounded by memories that caused more pain than comfort. Mark helped her sort through Ryan's belongings, offering quiet support as she decided what to keep, what to donate, and what to give to Ryan's family. "Are you sure about this?" he asked as they packed the last of the kitchen items. "There's no timeline for grief, Emma. You don't have to move if you're not ready." Emma looked around the half-empty house, remembering the life she and Ryan had built there. "I'm sure," she said firmly. "This house was our dream, but now it's just walls and rooms. I need to build something new." The day Emma moved into her new apartment, a sunny one-bedroom closer to her bakery, Mark and Sophie were there with pizza and a houseplant they had selected together. "It's a peace lily," Sophie explained seriously. "Daddy says they're hard to kill, even if you forget to water them sometimes." Mark looked embarrassed. "That's not exactly how I phrased it." Emma laughed, accepting the plant. "It's perfect. Thank you both." As they ate pizza on Emma's new couch, the old one had stayed with the house, too full of memories of evenings with Ryan. Emma realized something had shifted again. The grief was still there, she suspected it always would be, but it no longer defined her every moment. She had built a new life, different from the one she had planned with Ryan but still worth living. That night, after Mark and Sophie had gone home, Emma sat alone in her new space. She took out a photo of Ryan, running her fingers over his smiling face. "I miss you," she whispered. "I'll always miss you. But I'm going to be okay." The following year brought more changes. Emma's bakery thrived, and she even opened a small cafe section where customers could enjoy her creations with coffee or tea. Mark received a promotion to department head at his school. Sophie lost 2 teeth, learned to ride a bike without training wheels, and developed an obsession with space exploration. And somewhere along the way, the friendship between Emma and Mark deepened into something more. It happened so gradually that Emma couldn't pinpoint the exact moment when her feelings changed. Perhaps it was the day Mark showed up at the bakery with soup when she had the flu. Or maybe it was watching him patiently help Sophie work through her frustration with difficult math homework. Or it could have been the evening they stayed up until dawn, talking about their hopes and fears for the future. The first time Mark kissed her was on a rainy Sunday afternoon. Sophie was at a friend's birthday party, and they had spent the day cooking together and watching old movies. As Emma was preparing to leave, Mark gently took her hand. "Emma," he said, his voice uncertain. "I need to tell you something, and I'm afraid it might change everything between us." Her heart raced. "What is it?" "I've fallen in love with you," he said simply. "I didn't mean to, and if you don't feel the same way, I'll understand. Your friendship means everything to me, and I would never want to lose that." Emma stood frozen, a whirlwind of emotions coursing through her. Joy, fear, guilt, hope, all competing for dominance. "Mark, She began, then stopped, unsure how to continue. "It's okay," he said quickly. "You don't have to say anything. I just needed you to know." "No," Emma said, finding her voice. "That's not it. I feel the same way. I've been afraid to admit it, even to myself. It feels like I'm betraying Ryan somehow." Mark's expression softened.